after I got divorced, I made it a mission. I had no idea I was actually going to pivot into finance. I used to be very, very uncomfortable talking about money. That's a very closed-minded, unoptimized, devaluing aspect associated with building wealth, building success, building impact. Money is a tool. You have to utilize it wisely if you want to get the things out of life that you're striving for. Having the conversations around what am I doing with my money? Where am I spending it? Why am I spending it there? Building the emergency fund, making sure I have protections in place, but understanding how you intend to use it depending on the type of product. Because there's band-aids, but there's also tools.
Welcome to the She Believed She Could podcast. I'm your host, Allison Walsh. Since 2020, this show has inspired thousands of women around the world to believe in themselves and take bold action toward the lives they're meant to live. Each episode brings you powerful conversations and practical strategies to strengthen your mindset, build your confidence and brand, grow your business, and protect your well-being, all while spotlighting stories of women who are making a difference and changing the world in their own way. I am so glad you're here. Now let's get to work. Today's guest is Tinja Anderson. She is a business strategist, financial consultant, and former Division I All-American athlete with 15 years of global experience building high-performing teams and driving transformation. Raised in a family of consultants, she learned early that success comes from discipline, resilience, and mastering fundamentals before innovation. Beyond business, she holds the title of Miss Texas International 2022 and hosts Pursuit of Excellence, where she shares strategies to help leaders challenge limits and achieve lasting success. Please welcome to the show, Tinja Anderson. Well, welcome. I'm super excited that you're here.
I'm so happy to be here.
Oh my goodness. Would you mind just sharing a little bit more about yourself with our audience?
Well, that is a loaded question.
I know it is.
No, so really in this phase of life, we're focusing on driving value for business owners. We're truly dynamic in a lot of different capacities. I have my personal passion projects as well as the business side of things. So as far as the business side, really driving return on investment, value propositions, solving financial challenges with business owners in a wide range of capacities, which is just also a passion project. You know, we don't win unless our clients win. And so figuring out what it is that we're solving for and finding the right solution to help them capitalize, grow, scale, exit efficiently, tax efficiently, understanding the next chapter. And then truly on the personal side, building my book, building the Pursuit of Excellence, and really just honing. It's such a privilege for me to be able to interview people that are pursuing excellence because everyone's definition is different. And that was actually something in my, launch of the podcast, was trying to understand why people struggle with defining excellence and really getting into the weeds around, it's not about excellence, it's about the pursuit. It's about the journey. And so for me, it's such a privilege to be having that as a core focus of my life right now, is just having the privilege to go to school on people and what it is that it took to get to that level of success.
Yeah, it's huge. So, and I mean, I love the whole concept too. I mean, it's just incredible to learn from others and their journeys and their stories. And it's such a privilege, as you mentioned, to be able to interview and just soak up all the knowledge and wisdom and inspiration, lessons learned the hard way.
Yes.
But, I think what you touched on was really impactful, right? Excellence really isn't a destination.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we can easily hold ourselves to at some point I'll be at this level or I'll be here, but it is the journey. It's the pursuit. It's everything that you learn. It's the person you become in the process.
Along the way. Absolutely. Yeah. And you morph. And you get to choose how you morph. You get to choose what it is you hold yourself accountable to. You get to choose how you react. You can control the energy, effort, time, allocation. You get to choose your reaction to information that's being fed to you and truly shape who it is you're trying to become. And so, with your initiatives, with your business model and how you coach, especially with the psychology side of how you coach, it's truly the reframe. So my mom's a neurolinguistic expert and a PhD in communication. And so getting into understanding people's baseline communication styles and reaction styles and truly understanding what's adaptable and what's not has always been fascinating to me, why it's not second nature for people to control their reaction, or at least like take a beat and understand the intent behind what's being said.
Right. Well, and it's the intentionality too of striving and doing and going after what you want. And I think we've had conversations about this now on camera and off, but I think there's something to be said for those that are really thoughtful about where they want to go and doing the work to get there.
Yeah.
And so I want to go kind of back in
Sure.
time. You have a fascinating background. So before we jump into like all the things that you're doing now and the plethora of ways that you're helping business owners and all the cool projects that you're involved in, I'd love for the audience to just get to know a little bit more about you and, where you grew up and, why you do have this implanted in you and this drive and this strive for greatness and excellence. So can you share a little bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. The lives that I have lived at this point. So I'm the only daughter. My parents are about to turn 80, so I was the last child, and so I got all the lessons learned. Conversely, I'm also the only child that basically stepped up to learn the family business model. I hold records in swimming. I was a collegiate All-American in sailing. I played Olympic development soccer. I did my first public speech contest at 9. So the levels of excellence that I was held to growing up really translated to what I'm doing now in my career. I also took over the family consultancy in my 20s. And so that entire consultancy was about business optimization and strategic sales, so go-to-market strategies. But within those workshops, it was more of an MBA-style boot camp. So I basically got the equivalent of my MBA with the number of business cases that I helped create. It was pretty bad when we would get through workshops and I could pitch all of their proposals better than they could. So it was you start dreaming about it. You just literally you're regurgitating all of the value props because you've built it. So, the dynamic around how I was raised and what that translated to, but also created a lot of angst because you're held to this level of expectation and perfectionism almost. Mm-hmm. And I really had to reframe a lot. What is that saying? You have to unlearn things as you get older. And so really just understanding that those expectations weren't necessarily a bad thing. It's about being able to continually push the boundary. And so now in this phase of my life, I call it being a hobby collector because I try on a lot of things. When I got divorced, I really had an identity crisis because I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I liked. I call it the pretty woman moment because I didn't even know really what kind of eggs I liked. Mm-hmm. So I went through this process of redefining who I was and trying to figure out what it is that I wanted to pursue. And so it's been such a privilege to go through that process and really define what it is that joy means to me. The really finding peace and joy and passion in what I want to impact. And so, there's so many different avenues as far as accolades that I forget to take a minute and appreciate that accomplishment because it's always about the season. Mm-hmm. It's about the build. It's about the cycle. And so sports, whether it's sports or dance, which is a sport, pageantry, it's been, all of that skill set translates to business. But it's also what it translates to your life. And so when I'm doing my strategic plan every single year, I do a full strategic dashboard where I'm talking about my vision, my mission, my core values, my critical success factors, the key initiatives that I want to engage in, and then the KPIs that I measure too. I also do it for my personal projects as well.
Yeah. Well, and I am just drinking all that Kool-Aid. You know how much I love that, right? I love intention and a great plan and follow through and holding, yourself accountable. So, but with that, you start to accumulate a lot of accomplishments over time because it's a separator effect, right? Yeah. That's one of your differentiators is that you are so thoughtful in the way in which you approach things. And because of that, you've had a lot of success. But I'm curious too, because we love to talk about this, just the name of the show, right? She believes she could. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's hard to believe though that you can. So how have you navigated maybe seasons of doubt when it was hard or you weren't really sure, kind of where you understood or where you landed on certain things?
It's always fascinating because with we talked about inertia earlier, right? So there's the equal and opposite reaction for everything that you do. There's always the adversity that you face for every win. There's always the psychological challenges that you have to work through to continue to push past plateaus, redefine success and, a new trajectory. And so with every win, there was also the extreme challenge to get to that accolade, or whatever you define as success. You know, with sailing, most of the sports that I've done have been male dominated. So I was in sailing, it's a co-ed sport. And so I was fortunate enough to compete in co-ed, but we also had the women's side as well. My dad put me on my first soccer team, which was an all guys team. In consulting, it was male dominated. So in finance, it's male dominated. So it's always interesting for me because it almost became second nature to continually have to overprove, over validate why I deserved to be in the room. And so I actually find it even more imposter syndrome when I'm in a room full of powerful women.
Interesting.
So it's
very interesting.
It's been a very interesting education in the last 5 years, where I've intentionally put myself in rooms with successful women because I know I can dominate in the male industry. Just put me in the room, I will run circles around you. But with women, it's such a different dynamic.
Yeah.
So it's been very interesting to regulate the imposter syndrome because women in business are exceptional, especially when they've built their own brands.
One story changed everything for me, and it can do the same for you too. I started by sharing my recovery story in small rooms, volunteering, and helping wherever I could. That story became my platform, led to leadership roles, media features, and eventually me starting She Believes She Could. What I realized is this: your personal brand is the bridge between who you are and who you can help. When you show up with purpose, your story becomes someone else's survival guide or their inspiration to keep going. The Impact Brand Accelerator is where I teach you how to turn your identity, message, and audience into impact. So if you're ready to build a service-driven brand that opens doors and expands your impact, enroll now.
So when I first met you, I was immediately, and I've said this so many times today, I fangirled because you literally create the boss babes that are impacting their focus. You're creating brands that have clear messaging, confidence behind their pursuit, and they're able to actually clearly define and articulate what that overall value proposition is so that they wake up excited to go do it every single day. And so for me, I sit here and I have so many things that I know that I'm exceptional at, and I step into a room with boss babes, and it is a wild, gymnastics that I have to run through. Yeah. It's fascinating.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. But I think too, right, you are aware of where you want to become more comfortable too, right? And so you're intentionally doing it. Yeah. And just like you've, been able to dominate and crush it in male dominated spaces and places, there's a different energy when you're in a room of women that truly support one another, right? And I think that's also something that we have to always be mindful of, is that sometimes they say they do and they don't. So it's finding the right people, right? Yeah. Finding your tribe, and also finding people like me who will hold up the mirror to you and be like, "You're amazing. Yeah. You should be in these rooms. Let me tell your story for you." But I'm so proud of you for being thoughtful about getting in those rooms, because there's so many women that can benefit from you, your energy, your drive, your success, just your ability to focus and get it done, and your desire to really help people with whatever it is that overlaps with where your passions are too, right? Yeah. Championing their pursuits of excellence, helping them build the business, scale the business, the whole financial side, which can be like a foreign language for so many people. So just the value that you bring when you walk in the room, I'm really excited to see that just continue to have impact all over the place. So yes. It is exciting. So let's talk about then you moved from Texas to Florida. You kind of found yourself in the process, and you're crushing it on the finance side. So let's talk about what you do, who comes to you and needs help, and what do you do for them?
Yeah, so I'm very fortunate. I've been in finance for almost a decade now, and through that evolution, because I come out of consulting, I truly came into finance trying to understand why there's such a gap in the market as far as true financial consulting, true financial advice, where the gaps are. So I didn't want to get into finance and just sell products,
Right.
or charge a fee and you never know what you're getting. And so the black label associated with being a financial advisor, because people don't really know what they're getting when they engage, was something that I truly wanted to shift. And so being able to go from business consulting, business optimization, to true business financial growth and scale, where I'm taking care of the business owner, the business, the team, the exit, and it's looking at the full robust gap analysis and quarterbacking what we're solving for and when, and how do we protect cash flow? How do we be the most tax efficient? How do we grow and scale and diversify your portfolio so that we're risk adverse in some capacities, and we're absolutely able to grow and scale in the leveraged side of things. So we are looking at creating two assets out of one or multiple, and how do we do that efficiently and protect liquidity? So, being able to be very strategic around what it is that we're solving for, why we're solving for it, and then we only want to get wealthy once. And so how do we make sure that we're protecting that across the board, but also having the tough conversations around legacy, exit, next chapter. Most business owners don't want to retire, or they do, they just don't know what that chapter looks like. And so when we're dealing with succession planning, where your kiddo is gonna, or a key employee is gonna step in and take over, how do you relinquish control? It's having that conversation around what do you want life to look like, and how do we allocate funds to make that happen, so that we're doing that efficiently, building the assets in the business and outside the business.
Yeah. I mean, I could geek out and we could talk about this all day. Like, I love this. Like, I love to get into this. And I think it's, I feel really fortunate. One of the companies that I was at for 10 years, like literally the second person hired was scaled to 1,000 employees, multi-site, multi-state. Our founders had done, multiple deals, private equity. And one of the reasons that I came on board was because I wanted to learn so much from them, because I did not grow up in a family of entrepreneurs. I had very little understanding or lived experience being surrounded by people that had built businesses successfully, and they had just had an exit for $2.4 billion from their prior company. And so I was like, I can learn a couple things from these guys. And I'm so glad that I did. And it shifted my mindset. And some of the things that, I look at like lessons learned the hard way. There was a business that I had back in 2014. I should have sold it. Yeah. Right? I didn't know. I wound it down. What the heck was I thinking? It was totally about a sellable asset. What the heck? But now as I build other businesses, I think about what's the exit from this? How do I want this story to end? And so, I know we talked about on your show about, I broke off one division of the company and we're handling things differently. That's very intentional, right? Yes. There's a plan in place with how I want to run this. But I really want people that are listening, especially my boss babe entrepreneurs that are building something special, have these conversations, get somebody like you involved, especially thinking 5, 10, 20 years from now. You don't just want to wind it down. You want to sell it, you want to have legacy, the succession plan, whatever it is. But there's a way to structure it now that is just very thoughtful and very intentional and very transparent with anybody else that's coming into the fold. And that's the best way to operate.
Yeah. So as part of it, I have the certified exit planning advisor credential. And so really
love this for you.
Right?
Love this for me too. Okay, keep going.
So it's really trying to understand the level of importance associated with decentralizing yourself as the owner in order to increase that multiple, and that you are building a business to exit. Yeah. You are building a business to have whatever liquidated event at some point to maximize the return on investment that you've built, right? You're not working to live, you're not living to work, right? We are working and building something of impact in order for you to have a level of financial success and stability to, I talk about financial protecting your ability to be financially successful And that enables you to be healthy, wealthy, and wise.
Yes.
Right? But in order to do that, you have to have a level of financial success to protect against risk. And so when we're talking about what you're building, it's de-risking baseline, and then we focus on build, harvest, and exit. If you are the roadblock, it's going to be a really difficult challenge for you to maximize the value of the business.
So other than talking to you
Yeah.
and like just hiring you immediately, what else should women be doing to like really educate themselves on this? Because I think sometimes people don't, and I don't want to just say women, I'm just going to say people don't have these conversations because they don't feel like they even know where to start, and they don't want to feel like a moron having the conversation. So where can people get educated? Like this is so critically important. Like I will die on this hill. Like I want more women to be wealthy and to have just unbelievable success in their lives and their business. So, but like it starts with understanding. So where do they go?
Honestly, we need to be talking about money. We need to be talking about what you're doing with it. It's not a savings plan, it's a spending plan. Your money needs to have a purpose no matter what it is. And so really it's funny because I got in after I got divorced, I made it a mission. I had no idea I was actually going to pivot into finance. And so I used to be very, very uncomfortable talking about money. I would send off my stuff to my bookkeeper and be like, what's my damage?
Right.
And that's very, very closed-minded, unoptimized, devaluing aspect associated with building wealth, building success, building impact. And so, money is a tool. You have to utilize it wisely if you want to get the things out of life that you're striving for. You can't just build a business. We have to be cognizant of where we're putting the money, why we're putting the money there. And also the fact that, after being in the business for a decade, I've literally, so I was Rookie of the Year, Junior Advisor of the Year, all 4 years after that, and then stepped into the independent space because of the licensing. So when you are fully licensed and still attached to a broker-dealer, you're regulated by FINRA, which prevents you from actually delivering any type of education on a social platform. So all the people that are spewing financial advice might not be licensed or are a CPA, which, depending on their credentials, aren't thinking strategy. They're just looking at the tax code in this moment and filing. Yes,
exactly.
A lot of times with CPAs, I'm curious if they work for the IRS or they're working for me.
I could go on a rant about lived experience there too.
Yeah, so I mean that's a big part of what we do is we look at complete picture planning when we're dealing with a business owner, because we want to look at your cash flow in the business, outside the business. Can we optimize your giant tax burden and basically reduce that by implementing strategy? So a lot of times we're brought in to solve large tax challenges that the CPA can't, and we do that through a whole bunch of different strategies, but they're 100% above board. But this is how the wealth stay wealthy. The wealthy stay wealthy. So it's having the conversations around, what am I doing with my money? Where am I spending it? Why am I spending it there? Building the emergency fund, making sure I have protections in place. Insurance is a big part of it, making sure you understand what kind of insurance you have, what are your actual options, not just being sold a product and being told that that's the best thing for you. There are so many varieties, so getting multiple opinions around how that advisor would actually skin the cat, right? We're going to skin the cat all kinds of different ways, but understanding how you intend to use it depending on the type of product. Because there's Band-Aids, but there's also tools.
Right. Yeah.
As far as investment strategy, that is a whole nother foreign language. And this is where I find most people, not just women, are extremely intimidated because they don't know what's available. And then you go talk to a subject matter expert on portfolio design and you literally shut down because they're showing you Y charts and you have no clue what a tactical sleeve is or, leveraged equity or, any of the terminology. And so it's analysis paralysis and then you do nothing.
Right.
Which is, it's such a disservice for us. And so I find my job, because I'm not the one designing the portfolio or doing the trades inside the portfolio, is translating what my team is doing so that people can make an educated decision.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is huge.
It's huge.
Yeah.
The other arm of where I get to play is in private equity and venture capital. So we're actually looking at at bringing businesses into our portfolio. How do we grow and scale? Talking about a lot of people love real estate. I have nothing against real estate. I manage my family's portfolio. I do not like dealing with tenants. I don't like dealing with property taxes. So what are the other options to play the tax game, to grow and scale, to build assets? You have other things like investing into private equity, venture capital, private credit, where you're getting significant returns on investments. We're able to reduce the barrier to entry. And so it's just without analysis paralysis, having a menu of service where you're like, this is what I want. When you go to your advisor, be like, this is what I want.
Yeah.
This is where I'm at. Or can you please tell me where I'm at and what my options are to get here?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Well, and I think just having those conversations, knowledge is power.
Yeah.
Having the right people in your corner is a game changer.
Yeah.
And so I'm really excited for those that are listening that are going, maybe it's time. And
Yeah.
she's going to make me not feel stupid and help me get to where I want to be. But I think it's so powerful to just put yourself in the driver's seat and get the right people in the car with you that can help you get to where you want to go, and just maximizing what it is that you're doing. It's really, it's like there's so much to, like, of course, like protecting and preventing, but like truly maximizing and optimizing what it is and the dollars coming into your business and what you're going to do with them and how they're going to serve you for years to come, not just in a moment's notice. So I love all of this. So, all right, well, we've got to pivot because I want to talk about, the podcast. I want to talk about your book. I want to talk about all those great things. So what prompted the podcast? I think I have a good idea of this, but I'd love for them to just hear more about why, because that's a whole project.
It's a whole it's a whole new skill set.
Yes.
And I was just telling the production team, it's the reps that you put in to get really good at it and cultivate the style that it works for you, that's going to be impactful for the audience, is such a skill set. So just like my first cookbook, it was actually a pageant that inspired the pursuit, because when I competed for Ms. Texas International, I went with something that was already something that I was very well versed in, which was celiac. I have an autoimmune disease, so I went with celiac awareness because it's something that affects the nation.
Right.
Our food system is broken, and so really understanding how we drive health. And so I didn't maximize how I overlapped my business life, what I do every day, for the audience that I was reaching on the platform. So the Crown, the system that you're in, they give you such a massive stage to promote something that's so powerful. And so because of how I was regulated in the financial world, being associated with a big broker dealer, I couldn't do the education that I really wanted to do on the financial side. And so the pursuit of excellence really was born because I wanted to compete again, and I needed a platform that spoke to my soul, that I knew I could engage a larger community, that was the variety of people that I could interview was massive across the board. And so I wanted something that was going to be more powerful and impactful and like spoke to my soul, not just the way I live my life. And so when I went independent, really it allowed me to cultivate out the rest of that business model for the pursuit. And so my trademarking is actually under financial education, because I wanted the ability to talk about money. I wanted the ability to actually educate and talk about how you achieve success. What does money mindset actually look like? How do you invest in your future? Like healthy, wealthy, and wise, it requires a financial commitment. So how do we allocate funds to do that? And so the pursuit for me was not just people's journeys, but it's also the impact on how do I create best practices, lessons learned, money mindset, the come to Jesus moments that people are having to help people push past plateaus, break through barriers, redefine success on their terms. It's truly, like, for me, it's such a privilege.
Yeah. Well, and it's so fun too. Like when you create your lane and you're like, I can't believe I get to do this all the time. This is so great. Like that's when you hear about people talking all the time. Like, you don't want work to feel like fun,
Yeah.
like that's the goal, is that it doesn't feel like work. And when
Yeah.
you have something like this that you've created that you get to spend time doing, and you get to talk to great people and share so much valuable information that is a part of your legacy and will, do good in people's lives for years to come, like it's just like the best, like most fulfilling feeling.
It really is. Well, and for me, it's also being a student of the game. So I had never really listened to podcasts religiously.
Yeah.
And so the art form of interviewing is such a skill set, but it's also the rest of it. It's the brand that you're defining. I've watched a whole bunch of your episodes because I wanted to understand, how do you reach people and construct the message so that people actually hear it.
Yeah.
And it's entertaining, but it also, you're talking to people. You're not just performing. You're not just delivering a message. This is not a keynote. This is people want to hear you as you,
Right. They do. It's an opportunity to really build that like authentic connection. And I think especially in a world like we live in right now, where so much is artificial or just manufactured, there's such beauty in depth and conversations. And, I think you're experiencing this too, right? Like you enter into every interview going like, how can I give the most value to my audience? Like I think about the people that I know tune in every single week because they send me emails and I love them, like, but it's like, how can I best serve them? What do they need?
Yeah.
And how do these amazing guests that are sitting across from me impact them, long beyond the episode airing, right? And then of course, I just love interviewing people. It's like my favorite thing. So like, it's so fun. But thank you for sharing that. And so then talk about your book, because your manuscript's almost done. And we love authors around here. My community is very accustomed to supporting author launches and just getting behind and all of that. So share more about what it is that you're doing now.
Yeah, I'm so excited about it. It's called Boundaries and Bullshit. And so, coming out of male-dominated industries, and really just life, right? None of us enforce boundaries. None of us define boundaries. None of us understand the level of importance of a boundary. And in teams, in personal life, in family, what is it that is important to us? But also, what are we, the types of boundaries that you are creating and enforcing? And so it's the Boundaries and Bullshit is my story. But if I always say this, and it's always used. So it's like, if you're not choosing, you're choosing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
everything's a choice.
Everything is a choice.
Yeah.
And so, Boundaries and Bullshit is just the catalyst of legacy, of there is no Oscar for being the biggest people pleaser. It's
Amen. Say it louder for the people in the back. Like,
and
it's so true.
Wild with social media culture that we're all vying for likes and shares, and we forget that it ultimately, the thing that's going to make us happy and fulfilled is our definition of impact, and it's our definition of, if this isn't working, we need to pivot and play. What is it that the end goal is, and how do I get over this brick wall, under the brick wall, around the brick wall, through the brick wall? I always used to say this in consulting, is you want to be like water. We're going to get to the other side, but how do we do that? And so, Einstein was a professor of mathematics and notorious for giving the same test semester after semester. And so, the questions are always the same, but each semester the answers changed. So that's every single aspect of what we do in our life, in our business, in our pursuit. Our answers have to change because the world changes. You change. The goal's not going to change, but the strategy has to. Mm-hmm. And so Boundaries and Bullshit really is about understanding what's in my control and how do I actually elevate in order to achieve what it is that I've strategically built a plan for. And because I love variety, and I've had success in my hobby collector era, where I don't it's not a hobby, right? So if I'm going to pursue something, I'm going to show respect for that craft, and I'm going to pursue it with strategy and intention and integrity, because there are people that this is their life. There are people that are are artisans in their special niches. And if I want to go try something on, I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. Right. And so I've had success in such a variety of things because I apply that strategy to everything. And so boundaries and bullshit really defines what that means to be able to pivot and play, to be able to strive for excellence, to be able to define how to build a strategic plan. And that comes across in a variety of different capacities.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm super excited for you and this pursuit in particular. It's so meaningful to be able to look at your life's work in, 50, 60,000 words, whatever it ends up being. But it's such a therapeutic process, and I'm sure you've experienced it.
I actually had to recruit a ghostwriter because I was getting so caught up in the weeds.
Yeah, it's easy to. Yeah. It's easy to. I had my eureka aha moment when I was writing She Believed She Could. I had worked with a team to help me outline. Yeah. I wrote all the words in there. However, I was about halfway through and I kept looking at chapter 10, which was the last chapter in the book. And I kept feeling very unsettled about what it was going to be. Mm. And it was actually my look in the mirror moment that was the tipping point for me actually walking away from that company that I built alongside those incredible founders for 10 years. Wow. But it was kind of my recollection and an awareness of I've reached my peak here. Yeah. There's really nothing else for me to do. It's time for me to exit stage left, have somebody else rise through the ranks and have this opportunity and me go chase greatness and excellence elsewhere. Mm-hmm. But it was the book that was the tipping point for me. It was having to put all those thoughts on paper.
It's wild. In the drafting process, I was, built the outline and then I started building all the stories of adversity. And it was just that purge.
Yeah.
But also wild because of how your memory has shaped those stories. And then you really have to go back to baseline facts to really understand the impact that those events had on you. Mm-hmm. And so it's just wild, the narratives that we play, because if you ever try to explain something over and over and over, it just becomes a narrative.
Right.
Versus if you try to explain it from a different perspective, the aha of the way your mind edits things.
Oh, yes. Sometimes out of protection.
Yes.
Yes. It's we need to keep you over here and not have you relive this. But there's just so much value in those stories, though, because that's where connection happens, right? Yeah. We can preach facts all day long, right? We're both smart women. We know our stuff, right? But the things that really relate and connect to people are stories. And so you have to go back to those places and you have to be vulnerable and you have to share because that's what people are searching for, is just that relatability in those moments of oh my gosh, she gets it, or I went through something similar and look how she navigated it. I can do it too, right? There's just so much there. So I'm so excited for you. I have so much respect for authors. It's such a journey. It's one of the most exciting and terrifying things ever to put everything out there in the world. It really is. But it's so fun. And so we'll be cheering for you every step of the way. Super pumped for you. So we love to ask everybody on the show, though, before you wrap up today, 2 questions. What does confidence mean to you?
Ooh. Confidence is about putting the reps in. 100% confidence comes from being able to dry run enough times that you have developed muscle memory. And sometimes you need to borrow confidence from somebody. This is why, coaches need coaches, because that belief will actually push you so much farther than you thought you could. I always talk about pushing your boundary and just trying things on, because through that experience of trying something on, you surprise yourself continually. And I think that's something I actually strive for every single day, which is to be uncomfortable at all times. Most of the day, I am pushing myself to a place where I'm not clear. So I'm going to push, educate, and try things on. Mm-hmm. So, that you put enough reps in, and then all of a sudden something that was uncomfortable, a month ago, a week ago, a year ago is not even a second guess.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Well, and you got to do the work, right? Yep. The confidence comes from doing the work. We talk about borrowed confidence all the time. In fact, I close every show by saying, I believe in you 1,000%. And my goal is that you do too, right? And so just pouring into others and saying, you might not believe that you're fully capable, but do the next thing that you need to do, build the confidence, and know that you've got a cheerleader next to you going, you can do it. Yeah. I see it. I see the potential. So love that. And then lastly, we love to be inspired. Like, who else inspires you? What are you listening to, watching, reading? Who you're following on Instagram, whatever. Is there anybody that's just a true legend in your mind that this audience needs to be tuning into?
For my feed is constantly evolving because I'm so hungry to learn what people are doing. So Dan Martell,
Yes.
Jay Shetty, Chris Williamson, Joe Rogan. I love. It's a lot of men.
Yeah. I was just gonna say you're comfortable in rooms with men, so having a seat at the table.
It's funny. I need to take my own advice, but the emotionalism my Myers-Briggs numbers are wild. So I've taken all the tests, personality tests, Enneagrams, all the things, and so I'm a very, very, very small percentage personality type of women, and same with men. So like we fall into my commander category. So I love how men shape the logical mind information because it's easier for me to digest and assimilate. So when I'm dealing with females, I had a really great coach, Dr. Julia West, who used to be the vice president of Limitless Minds and now split off to build her own consultancy. She's incredible, just working one-on-one. And then there's plenty of women in the financial industry that I love to follow as well. So it's
you got a nice mix. But it's so important, right? Like you got to find inspiration from those that like deeply resonate with you, motivate you, inspire you, and then also that can like speak truth into you too. Yeah. So and help you see it for yourself. So loved it. Okay, well, where should everybody go to find you, follow you, connect with you?
Yeah, I'm very Googleable. So Tinja Anderson on all platforms, and then the Pursuit of Excellence Pod on Instagram as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. This was so fun.
It was so fun. Amazing. Thank you for having me.